Hi everyone, it's Margaret here with 60 and Me. Thanks for being here today. Hope all is well in your world. Welcome to a brand new day, brand new start. I want to talk to you today about something that I think has come to mind more frequently in the last year as we're staying at home more and thinking about our lives and about the progression that our lives have made and how we have arrived where we are today. I think if you ask people in our 60 community kind of what did their life turn out the way they planned when they were young, most people will say no, not at all. And in fact, I love the way it turned out. It's exactly the opposite to what I thought would happen. And some of those things, however, can cause reflection on those forks in the road, those times where we had to make decisions to go left or right, one way or the other, and how those decisions, maybe changed your life completely, and specifically how it can have a tinge of regret as we get a little bit older. Now, we've talked about this on 60 and Me before, and we don't believe in regrets, right? I mean, it's the Edith Piaf song, I have no regrets. But we do. In some ways, we look back on those forks in the road, those decision points, and consider how would life have been different if I had done this or this. So basically, I got my cup of tea this morning. I decided I needed a cup of tea. So I've got my English breakfast because for me, my English breakfast tea is it's like a time machine. I can go back with it. I can remember my mom, making little cups of tea when I was a child and putting 2 teaspoons of tea in the breast milk so I could have tea with the family. And I can remember cups of tea, sitting in cafes, making decisions. What about the times you've gone to make a big decision, a purchase maybe, and you say, I'll go get a cup of tea and I'll be right back. Or maybe coffee. As I lived in the States, I think it was more coffee. But the thing here is that, you do things to kind of take yourself back to those points. And Tamara Greischeiber is one of our bloggers, and she wrote this article on ways to live without regrets by focusing on the present, of course. But her story is kind of interesting because she raises some interesting decisions she had to make. She wanted to go to Europe when she was 18. High school, after high school, she wanted to travel. Like all of us want to travel. Remember that? That phenomenon? But she says, her mom wouldn't let her go. And instead she made a different decision and didn't go. But she went back in her 50s and thought to herself at the time, would I have even appreciated it in the same way if I'd gone when I was 18? So that was one decision. I know there's been some times in my life, like for example, I remember this very clearly. I can share this with you. I was living in Texas. I was married, 2 children. Life was busy and good and Texasy. If anyone's ever lived in Texas, and I lived there just for 2 years. But anyway, I have a passion for books. I've lived in books. I worked in bookstores most of my early life in college, and I've always wanted to work in a big bookstore. So I was offered a job at Barnes and Noble, managing one of their large flagship stores. Do you remember Barnes and Noble? A while ago. So I decided. I loved it. That's a great idea. And then one day my husband came home and said, I've got something to share. I've been offered a job at Microsoft. And that would involve moving to Seattle. And that was the story. And I had to make a decision. I had to decide, do I want to go, basically move the family and move to Seattle? Or do I want to say, no, I want to stay? And of course, lots and lots of things go into a big decision like that. And I decided on reflection to fly out to Seattle. And because Microsoft was just new in those days, if you can believe it, 1990, what was that? 94, and Windows 95 hadn't launched, and I was offered a job, of course, in marketing and communications. I had all the right skills. I took it. Yes, my husband and I both moved to Microsoft in Seattle. It was the story of a 16, 17-year career. But I look back often and I say, what would have happened if I'd stayed in that bookstore and stayed in Dallas? Do you ever do that? Now, I do have a couple of regrets for that. Microsoft was the most fabulous place ever in the world to work. I loved it. But I did lose touch with books. And so I do have a regret there. But many of you maybe did things like you married very young, or you moved, a lot when you were young. There's lots of things that we have regrets for. And we sit here during these times of the pandemic And we sit there and, like, what have I done with my life? Where did that turn? Where did that corner turn? And I made a big decision. So I think that Tamara's suggestion here is that, we could spend forever reminiscing on the past. And actually, sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it can be a good thing. I'm going to share a little story today. I got an email from my daughter-in-law and my son with 2 videos that they had taken before the pandemic when they took the children to Italy for a camping trip. And honestly, it made me cry because it was so, so beautiful to see the children out in the fields, down by the lake, doing little picking flowers, and thinking they haven't traveled for, like all of us, like over a year. But it was that was like a nice reminiscence, so at that moment, I wasn't in the present. But Tamara, of course, says if you've got big regrets and, big things that happened in your life that you need to reflect on, staying in the present is the answer. And if you've ever read, is it Ram Dass, or I forget the name of the person that was talking about, just staying in the present. Well, it's a Buddhist philosophy. It's very common to those religions that believe, be here now, Ram Dass. So one thing I do, and maybe you do this as well, just some suggestions here, how do you stay in the present, is I do lists. I'm a list person. I've shared this with several people because it actually gets bordering on compulsive sometimes. I have like books with notes and I just make lists. But the process of deciding, based on a regret that you might have made in the past, say that you decided not to do something and now you've got another opportunity to do it. Start a new business. You didn't want to do it when you're in your 20s, 30s, but now in your 60s, 70s, you think, wow, that's a good idea. I have a skill. I have a talent. I am going to do that. And, I think that's, there's a lot of courage that's required with that. But, what are you considering? One thing to do is to make a list. And I think Tamara says, on looking back on her past, if only she had done that before, asked more questions, and thought about the connecting dots. Like, okay, when she was wanting to go to Europe when she was 18, if she'd only asked more questions about that experience, where she would have stayed, what she would have done, what a day in the life would have been, what she would have needed to take with her, what to prepare, do other reviews. You don't do that when you're 18, right? You just don't do that when you're 20. Sometimes you don't do that when you're 60. But the point here is that if you ask questions, you will find the doorways to the decision. Because if you ask the questions and you get more information, you will no longer be intimidated by influencers, people that have done what you are thinking of doing, people that have purchased the thing you're thinking of purchasing. You'll be doing it based on your own assessment of the questions and the answers that you've got from those questions. So do you do this? Are you a list maker, a question person? Someone who raises the question and goes very, very deep with it before making a decision? I think that, I don't know whether my life would have been any different. I don't know whether it would have changed any big decisions if I had asked more questions. Maybe I'm thinking as I talk, I need a sip of tea. I need to think about that. Yeah, I'm not sure. How about you? I'd love to know your stories, actually. I wish we could get together in a virtual world and just chat. I think it'd be so much fun. But anyway, the time that Tamara says is the most valuable is the time that you bring those questions to the present. Don't take anything for granted, like nothing that you think is going to happen because of that decision is going to change because of asking the questions. When we make a big decision, we have this habit of seeing only the bright side, seeing only the positive side. And I think that that's the challenge. But look back on your life. And those times that you're saying in your mind now, oh, I wish I had done that. If only I had done that. This is the time to pull that back and look at it now. Okay, you didn't do it then. Is this the time? Is this the time that you can take that, I wish I had, or I wish I could have, or I wish I'd done this, and make it happen? Okay, we can't travel right now. We can't go to exotic places. We can't maybe buy the car that you wanted or whatever. Things have changed. We've moved ourselves into a place, into a state in our lives where we're not bounded. We're not ever held back because we don't have to, we can do things in shades of. So say, for example, you wanted to travel to, I don't know, India. anywhere exotic that you just know now that isn't, you can't afford, you don't want to do it for whatever reasons, you can't travel. There's all kinds of virtual things you can do. You can find ways to bring that passion into the present. And I think that that's really important, is to not give up on the thing that you always wanted to do, but to find a way to bring it into your present and make it real. You know, do it as best you can. I know it's challenging. This is it's even hard to talk about things like travel on a video like this, because it's just impossible. But it's just, well, impossible? No, it's not impossible to travel in your mind. It's just impossible to physically get on a plane or a train. Actually, I've been doing some fun experiences on both Airbnb and Amazon. Have them where you can go online and people are offering experiences in different parts of the world. You can go on a virtual tour of Lisbon, or you can go to a cooking class in Jaipur, or you can go to Morocco and learn how to, I don't know, ride a Jeep buggy on the sand, whatever you do. I mean, there's so many amazing people now who are also in those places and not able to move. So, I'd like to know, do you ever find yourself regretting anything that happened in your past? How do you deal with it? Let's share. I want to say thank you to everybody for being here. Thanks a lot for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and believe in what we're doing here at 60andMe, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. And join our Patreon supporters group if you would like a more personal, VIP kind of exclusive video environment. We have lots of fun there. Lots of good friendships are being formed, and you're welcome to join. And I appreciate your support. Take care, everybody. Have a great day, whatever you're planning to do, and we'll be back again soon. Bye-bye for now.